How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Nerd Reactor. It's good to see everyone. We're going to do episode 2 of C2H60 Science, which everyone probably doesn't know that is ethanol, so it's a little joke. What we do is we sit and we wax wise about the big ideas of the universe. Hey, we got John. Cool.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, man? You
Yeah.
are so much better dressed than the rest of us. You're going to make us look bad.
What an offensive thing to say, dude.
I know.
My
Kinda
shirt is
fresh, yes,
lovely.
Come on.
Yes, indeed, it is. So, we got John from Nerd Reactor, and we've got Sharon, and we've got Jeff, and we've got me. So we're going to do some quick introductions, and we're going to talk about the topic of this week's show. So we're going to start with you guys, and then we'll come back to me. So let's go with Jeff first.
Hi,
Give a little
I'm Jeff.
intro.
He's Jeff. He wrote a book.
Yep, I wrote a book. That's why I'm here.
Sharon? Hearing about this book, it's I heard it's like it's going to end world hunger. It's going to cure cancer.
It's the only reason we do this show / exist.
The thing is it's totally already cured cancer, man, but like big GMOs keeping him down, so it's not really out there yet. But
GMO's keeping him down.
Big GMO, let's get it right. Sharon?
I'm Sharon. I currently have 2 Heinekens. I have a degree in biology and philosophy. That's about it.
Wow.
Those are my credentials.
Yeah, that's all she needs. John, I mean, you're the creator of all things awesome. You have sriracha.
Yes, this is it. This is going to be my drink of choice.
Somehow less disgusting than 2 Heinekens.
No, yeah, I guess so. And yeah, I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Reactor. This is Nerd Reactor. This is it. Science. I'm like the least qualified person to be on the show right now because I'm more into just the gaming, the comic book movies. But you guys are here, so you guys will hold the fort down, and I trust you guys.
Well, and I think if there's an episode for you to be on, it will be this one because I think all of us have played those fun games like Shadowrun and kind of those old school ones. And I mean even now in the future, because what we're talking about today is possible futures. Before we go into that, my name is Ron Sparkman. I am the creator and founder of OpportunityU.com, science, space, earth science, everything about changing the world in a more positive way, so that way we can go to space and colonize the solar system, the universe, and all those beautiful things, and hopefully not destroy it like we are here. So the topic for today is possible futures, whether or not we're going to be here in 500 years, or we're going to be here 1,000 years, 10,000 years.
Specifically, like me, me, Sharon, going to be here in 500 years.
No. It's the human race. I mean, it's a very good possibility. If you listen to Michio Kaku, there's a possibility that we're going to download your brain, put it on a disk, and we're going to be able to beam you across the universe. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute because the possibilities of how, one, what is existence? No, I'm just kidding. We kind of went into that last time. But the idea is, what is the possible future? What is the future for humanity? How are we going to figure this out? How are we going to completely destroy everything? Are we going to figure this out? Are we going to come together? Are we going to have this beautiful future, almost like that Star Trek future, where we figure everything out and we go out and we travel throughout the galaxy and see some amazing, beautiful things? Are we going to skydive and tighten some really cool futuristic spacesuit? Or are we gonna, mess it up? So I'm gonna give it to you guys and tell us, like, what do you think? Where are we gonna be? Let's go with 500 years. We'll start with 500 years. What do you think we're gonna be in 500 years?
Well,
I'll be dead.
Humanity. Where do you think humanity will be in 500 years?
Literalist. When I think about the future, when I attempt to model the future in my mind, I see many paths that would lead us to certain destruction. I think we all know it, from comets to plagues to, something screwing up our DNA, something. But I can still see very narrow paths that ultimately lead our ancestors to thrive. But one thing I am confident about is that our species, the way we know it now, is going to be extinct very soon.
No.
Either in the classical sense. No, and I'm very serious. Either in the classical sense, we will destroy ourselves, which I'm hoping we don't. I'm really optimistic.
You sound like it. You really do.
But but hopefully, what we will do is we are going to evolve in such a rate that really soon we're going to be groups of subspecies, especially if we take over other planets, if we get out into space.
Now, when you say evolve at fast rate, you still mean like thousands of years, right?
No, I mean real quick.
Like 300 years we have a subspecies of human?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about going to Mars, yeah. Somewhere that's got a different atmosphere.
If you think about DNA manipulation, the integration of, like, say, biological technology in the future, I can't see that being too far off.
I think
change?
We talk about transhumanism, and actually, John will love this because this will go a little bit about Dos Ex, and so you guys are going to do a review on that for me in 6 months 3 months when it comes out in September. But it's like we talk about that about adding, now you're talking about CRISPR, you're talking about the genetic manipulation. Would we, or can we, or should we?
Absolutely.
But I mean, are we going to do are we going to go like Gattaca, or are we going to, is it going to be to where the people that are born of being something that was structured from the ground up, or are those going to be the elite level, and those of us that were born that have sickness and have bad eyesight, are we going to be the ones that are forgotten? Are we going to be almost like the slave culture because we're not good enough?
Just recently, wasn't there a story about a team got approval to start genome manipulation?
I believe so. I don't think it's here. I think it was. I know it's out of the country, but I'm not.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. It was somewhere else, like Norway. Some people more important than the U.S. But yeah, they definitely got the go to do that, and they've really known how to do it forever. I mean, it's just been kind of sticky.
Yeah. Well, we cloned a sheep in the late '90s, early 2000s. There's a lot of things that we've kind of already dipped our toes in.
Oh yeah, sheep could live forever. We could make sheep live forever.
Well, and then that's kind of the next question. All right, so what do we consider us? So if we're going to be here in 500 years, and he even talks about the ability for us to very quickly evolve. There's a new sci-fi show called The Expanse. In the Expanse, there's humans living throughout the solar system and in different areas where they have the ability. They have less gravity. You see these really tall humans, but they're almost kind of sick because the body almost evolved too fast. I mean, what are kind of some of these things that we're looking at? If we're going to go to Mars, Mars is going to be an entirely different animal. What are we going to need to live there? And is that our future? I mean, have we really just said, have we really screwed up the planet so bad? I don't think we're to a point that we can't fix it. I think we are going to fix it. I think COP21 last year is an excellent move in the right direction. We've got a lot of people passionately working on it, and it's getting to the point that nobody can really deny what's going on anymore. There's a lot of people that are still going to be skeptics and critics of what's happening, but say that we figure it out. Say that let's go with the most optimistic view. We figure out climate change. We figure out a way to work with our Earth and be part of it again. What would the future be like for us then?
Population problems. That would be next on the list. There would just be too many people.
So does that mean that we're also looking at? Are we looking now at a need? Then all right. So does Mars become a necessity? Just figuring out these things all of a sudden. What we all kind of, it's been a big dream for a lot of us to go to space, to go and see these other places.
I feel like colonizing Mars has always been more of like just a fun goal rather than something we're looking to do right now. Yeah, it's like, oh, let's colonize Mars because we can, not because it's like convenient or super helpful.
In 1,000 years, it might be something that's very practical.
In 1,000 years, will Mars really be more habitable than whatever Earth is? Like, at least Earth comes with water.
Yeah.
Well, and there's still the idea that it's been there, and is science moving fast enough that we're going to be able to see the ability to terraform it? You've got Elon Musk is talking about. I can't remember exactly how he explains it, but he wants to have explosive pulses going on in both of the poles to be able to melt the ice that is there and then release that CO2 so that way you can start to warm the planet. And he wants to have an 80,000 person colony by 2050, 2060. I mean, if you want to kind of move it back, because sometimes he's there and sometimes he's not. It seems crazy, but in September we're supposed to get this whole big crazy plan that he's got, and everybody just said no, he couldn't do it a long time ago. We wouldn't have Tesla cars, we wouldn't have SpaceX, taking a rocket that used to cost $60 million, and now they can refuel it for $250,000. Is the guy actually, is he batshit crazy, or is this something that we could actually see in our future?
I see a big issue in travel. I think the whole feasibility of we somewhere in the future have colonies somewhere else, like it still takes forever to get there.
Yeah, I think the problem with like us, we think like it's gonna come sooner, but it's always gonna come later. For example, where are the flying cars? Like I saw this in Back to the Future. It's supposed to be here last year. So before we get to like space travel, like colonizing, I think we need flying cars before. And when are we going to get that?
We do have hoverboards.
We do. We now have hoverboards, and
that
we also
explode.
have. Yes, they. There's a company called Terrafugia. I think that's how you say it. That has. What is a flying car? Now, it's not like what you saw in the movies, and that's okay. Yeah. But basically, you drive it to an airport, and then the wings come down, and then you can fly with it. But it's amazing to see. But okay, so we look at Back to the Future, and we may say that, all right, what we expected from Back to the Future isn't there. But when you look at some of the other futuristic ideas, like Star Trek, and what is 300 years in the future, and almost then 75% of those technologies are right here in front of us. I remember 15 years ago thinking that I would never, in my lifetime, have the ability to do a video call, and we are, I'm staring at a screen that I could touch if I wanted to, and move things around, and that's totally some of the things that we saw in that just seemed fantastical to us that now every day we take for granted. So is there some other major technology that maybe is right around the corner? I think the big one right now is 3D printing. That's how they're kind of talking about what a Mars going to Mars can be. NASA had this big competition last year, the 3D printed habitat for Mars, and it's just got some amazing ideas. So is there going to be a technology that's going to move us into the future?
So I think it boils down to, can our technology be faster than we kill ourselves?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it for sure.
And I think that's really okay. So let's take it to the next level. Let's say that we have done it. So 500 years in the future, we're still around. We've made it, and it's technology. Technology has allowed us to do so, or maybe even stepping back a little bit from technology, getting a little bit more in touch with our roots, and remembering that the Earth is something that we should live with. What would be that goal then? What would be that goal for humanity? What are we gonna look like then? What's that next possible future?
Well, I honestly think that Jeff has a point, as cynical as it is, that there's like a lot of problems in trying to live for like another 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 years. You're gonna have food issues. You're gonna have ozone issues. You're gonna have conflicts with technology. You're going to have more dangerous wars. You're going to have problems with viruses and how, like, the way that viruses evolve, because for every step we evolve, viruses and bacteria evolve too, and they become more of a problem. We have an issue with an aging population that just, the longer we make ourselves live, the older our population gets and the more brittle it gets. So there's a lot of issues with surviving much, much longer.
I would agree with that. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, one thing when I look in the future, I see, I joke around with some of my friends. I say, if you could live another 50 years, you might have a chance to live another 150 years, just with the advancements in technology. And if you can live for another 150 years, technology is going to advance so much that's it. You're going to only die by an accident. And people think,
right.
Well, who wants to live 300-500 years?
Well, that's sort of the
you're
theory,
not gonna,
that we're just going to have people that survive too long.
Well, and I do see that, and if I'm living in a 30-year-old body for 500 years before I choose to end my life, or I get caught up in an accident, well, maybe 5,000 years. Well, during that period, I can't imagine that there'd be many children. I would imagine that children would be very scarce. If you live in a small community, if somebody does choose, if you live for 500 years, you're going to be pretty specific when you have your children, probably. You're not going to want to have children when you're 30.
I think it depends on the person. So
maybe
technology's getting better, and people's going to procreate. Why stop? Just because they know they're going to live longer?
Yeah, I think historically it's
we'll
very hard. It's very hard to keep people from having children, just historically.
Well, and here's kind of the thing: is that the undereducated are normally the ones that If you've seen Idiocracy, they kind of talk about that. The longer that it goes on, it's the people that are thoughtful about those choices to have children. It's like, all right, I'm in school, I'm in college, I want to get my degree, you want to get your master's degree, she wants to get her master's degree, and then you think about it, and then all of a sudden you're 35, and maybe that's not the right choice for us, and you don't have children. Whereas you have people that are in undereducated areas have a tendency to, it just happens kind of earlier. They don't really see much of a future, and it's something that they can live in the moment right now. They're not considering necessarily the future. I don't know how many of my friends that have kids and say it's the most beautiful thing they ever had in their life. It's the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to them. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened to them. But what if they could have went back and went to college? What could they have been? It's kind of that idea. But also on the other side of it, you have somebody started mentioning it that Michikaku talks in one of his Big Think videos that with Moore's Law, every 18 months we double computer power. So within the next 15 to 20 years, we'll have the ability to download everything in our brain, because there's nothing specifically special about the brain that we can't figure it out. That we would be able to put ourselves almost in a Superman kind of way onto a disk, and then beam ourselves across the galaxy and put ourselves in a completely custom-built avatar of sorts, and be able to travel around there. So is there something where we're going to see the end of a need almost for an organic existence, to where we can just kind of be everywhere, we can experience the universe at once? There's also a really great story that Amber shared with me before she left. It's by Isaac Asimov, called The Last Question. If you get a chance, you got to read it. And it's kind of that idea of us exploring and expanding into the universe and becoming more and more one with everything and seeing everything and what's next.
I could totally see us being less organic in the future. I think we do so much study into computers and the brain and the connection between the two that we are actively studying ways to sort of like upload existence.
Yeah.
I think that'll tie into the different subspecies that I was talking about earlier, where some people will choose certain technologies to go with. Other people are going to want to be more, organic, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah. We already have a problem with just people just away right now with the technology we have, and with the recent release of Pokemon Go, everyone's just like, you're just hooked on that. Everywhere you go, your feed is like, I'm capturing this new Pokemon and all that. So.
And it's been less than 24 hours, and it is absolutely. It's kind of funny that it's just everybody's immersed in it now. All of a sudden, you have that. I think another one of those ways that's really kind of blown our mind is, I remember when I saw the first video for Microsoft HoloLens. That's amazing to me. I'm going to be able to walk on Mars because I'm going to have a headset on my face. My room is going to turn into Mars. I'm going to walk into a wall. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to get the Darwin Award. But but still, there's that possibility that you're going to be able to kind of live in this world. Now you got this this kind of surrogate kind of lifestyle to where you can live either in your seat. I mean, how many of us spent way too much time on WoW? I did. Like 6 months, all I ate was boiled eggs. I didn't leave the house. I'm just sitting there and I'm going to get to level 60. I've got to get through this. Leroy Jenkins. It's the most. That just absolutely absorbed me. So what's that next thing that's just going to take us on the next level? Are we looking at something that the forward-thinking people, the Tory Brunos, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, the ones that are trying to get us into space? Jeff Bezos was here at the Space Symposium that the Space Foundation holds every year in Colorado Springs, and he talked about he wants millions of people in space. Is that the answer? Do we need to do that, or are we going to need to figure out what's the environment going to look like if we're going to be here in 500 years or 1,000 years? What is it that we're going to have to do? Are we going to have to start building up now? It's kind of like what New York City does. Are we going to see the whole world do that? Instead of building out, we're going to build up?
Look, I'm going to follow Pokemon wherever it goes. So, whatever level of technology allows it to be more real for me, I'm there. I will follow Pokemon into the dark. You can upload me into anything. That's going to be me.
As long as it can be you and Pikachu. That's all that matters.
That's it.
What's Pokemon?
And I think that's kind of really it. Okay, so say that we make it 1,000 years. What are we looking at in 10,000 years? I mean, now obviously, we look back 10,000 years in the past, and there's no way anybody could have had any idea of what it was we would accomplish. Everything that we do now would be absolutely pure magic to them. Anything within the last 100 years would be pure magic.
I think history classes in school will really suck.
Pretty long, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already got 10,000 years of history right now, and how much of it is recorded history? We've got 10,000 years of recorded history right now. How much of it do we learn now? So, I guess they would, the
Because
winner.
like for a majority of that, there was no internet.
Indeed, now things have kind of changed. So, all right, will the internet become its own thing? A lot of people think that because of, again, Moore's law, that we're going to reach the point that we're going to see the singularity. Are we going to become? Are we going to matrix it? Are we going to end up being batteries for something else? And then even on the other side is, what about the simulation? You guys got the simulation theory. This is something we mentioned before. Are we going to build computers so powerful that we're going to just be able to create our own universe and kind of live and explore an infinite amount of area within that? I mean, is computers going to be the end of us, or is it going to be us being able to do anything and everything that we want to?
Both. As we spread out, we'll have different opportunities to see how that advances. People talk about the singularity, getting nervous with that. I look at it as we're going to integrate so much of that hardware into our system, into our own bodies.
Transhumanism.
We're going to be part of that. It's not like, the big computer's going to turn against us. We're going to be part of it. We're going to all be linked together. Right now, we all carry these supercomputers in our hands.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, that'll be genetically put into our minds. We're going to see that. That's crazy. It might be a couple hundred years, but you think of the power we have. We're going to be closer to the Borg than most people like to think.
Resistance is futile.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
and we're going to love it, I think.
Well, if you think about how, 10 years ago, there was no iPhone. 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't really an internet. It's exponential. So, I don't think we can even fathom 10,000 years from now if we're still here.
Mm-hmm.
And what's it going to be like? I mean, you kind of look at an idea like Star Trek. And Star Trek talks about you kind of move into the future a little bit, and we hit the Third World War, and billions of people die, and all of a sudden that calling and humanity kind of being put back on itself and having to step back and take an idea, and they even do it in Interstellar. We get to the point that we
Horizon Zero Dawn.
So we get this idea that that we're going to end up doing something, like we're going to do it to ourselves. Some volatile person, or all of the volatile people, are going to go off on, Donald Trump becomes president and everybody loses their shit. Hillary Clinton becomes president and everybody loses their shit. So what? Maybe there's that big event that kind of brings us back down to a smaller, more focused version of humanity.
A lot of scientists believe there will be another extinction event.
There already has been.
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
I mean, you've already seen it. We've seen 5 major extinction events. It's not what, it's when. We might now have the technology to see the world-ending, asteroids that are coming toward the planet. But there are some things that we just. You think? Think about 100 years ago.
Any day the magnetic poles could flip, and that would be the end of everything.
Well, our poles flip every few thousand years. So we have that doesn't.
It would be very problematic, though.
For us now, it would put us back in the dark ages.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do then? And I think this is one of the fun reasons that sci-fi, video games, and TV series always like to run these ideas, because guess what? It's coming. Something's coming. So how do we? Maybe that's it. How do we prepare ourselves for this? What do we need to look at when we look at the environment of the future, the technology of the future? What do we need to make sure that we have that we can survive it? Is it should everybody be taught survival skills in school? Should there be something? Is there something we're missing in the education system to make sure that we prepare our kids that
they're screwed.
Well, there are kids that are suing their parents now for destroying the atmosphere and screwing with our future, and they're winning.
Interesting. I think at that point, I almost believe that we're just going to realize an event like that isn't coming, and we're going to. I don't know if any of you have played Soma.
I've seen the trailer for it.
Yeah. So, and I guess spoilers for this very old game, but at the end of it, this guy is. You are traveling as this guy, and sort of after an apocalyptic event, you're like the last human, and you're about to die, and you've kind of followed this robot that guides you into kind of beaming your consciousness into a body or processor on another planet to survive. So like it's basically like a concept like that. Like there at one point it's just going to be like Jeff said, like an integration with technology, wherein we can beam consciousness to somewhere else or just live without an organic body.
And yeah, that's I kind of mentioned a little bit about it as well. That's I'll send the video to you guys. Kaku talks about that, about being able to download yourself and just beam yourself across the universe. So say that we have that ability. Say that we do that. What would the focus of humanity be once we? Okay, so we figure out the space issue. I mean, literally figure out this, not just outer space, but literally the space issue. Say that we become a multi-planet species. We figure out ways to not necessarily, not move faster than light, but the ability to create a wormhole and to be able to bounce around to where we can go to other planets. What is going to be the kind of the focus of the human species that has beaten the things that we think are insurmountable right now? What would your goal be if you had that freedom to just bounce around the universe? What's next? When you can just say, I can hop over to that solar system over there and it has nobody else there.
I kind of like to think almost comically at one point that humans just aren't that cool. Like, we just won't be able to figure that shit out. Like maybe there's a limit to how much we could discover and invent, and we never figure out wormholes, and we never figure out how to put our consciousness into robots. Like maybe we just can't do it all, guys.
Well, all right, so what does evolution have in store for us then? We've got... Okay, say that doesn't happen. What does the human species evolve into? And let's step away from the idea of transhumanism for a minute, the idea that we're going to be at one with computers, which is most likely, yes. But say that we have a way that we can just live in concert with our technology, that we're separate from it, we're still the human species. What would a million years of evolution do to us after we just saw, look at the 1% difference as we separated from the other primate species, how much different we are. What would another 1%...
be like the guys from Up, where we're just not moving at all? Our bone density, we're just going to be huge and just a slob.
Slobs. Yeah.
Because everything could just be fed to us.
Yeah.
There's
why would we exercise anymore? Everything's like just given to us.
There's constantly sort of simulations of what the human species is going to evolve to. Just sort of, I think all of them generally wean down into us becoming like weaker, blander, more uniform.
Well, it all depends on what we do, of course, in the future. A lot of us think, well, we're going to be lazy because everything's going to be given to us. We might not have to work as much, if at all. As we're out there.
What if it's the opposite?
We're going to have a lot more time to spend on doing what we want to do. We might be addicted to sports. We might, if I don't have to work,
yeah, we're all super ripped in the future.
Yeah, I might
not
be
necessarily
spending 4
super
hours
rich.
a day on jiu-jitsu.
That's actually something that they've been talking about now. I think that there's a TED Talk, a big thing talk about it, where this expert in the field, a thought leader, talks about computers are coming. They're going to take jobs, but we're going to get to the point where they create so much wealth that it's going to end up being to the point that we can do whatever we want to. And last year I had the ability to take some time off, and instead of just sitting around, I traveled everywhere. I was in 36 states and like 3 continents last year, and it was something that I never thought that I would see myself do, and that was just from the ability to have just a little bit of money. Like, if you had the freedom to be able to hop on a plane and see the world, or you have the ability to hop on a spaceship and go out into the solar system, and somebody and you didn't have to have that free time in between, that we figure out the way to freeze our bodies. What is out there you would want to see? There's a really cool video. If you get a chance to see it, it's called Wanderers, and I can't say the guy's last name. It's not an American last name. I don't even think he's from this country. And he takes Carl Sagan's speech about that we are wanderers and that we have to go out there, we have to search it. We are always tormented by things ever remote, and we have to get out there, we have to see it. And it shows different videos of there is somebody that is on Titan, and because of the atmosphere on Titan, they have these wings and they're able to jump off and basically fly around Titan. All these different ideas. What's that total magical thing that you would like to do if everything went right? What kind of life would you lead if you had the ability to do whatever you wanted to? Money was not an issue. You could bring anybody with you wherever you wanted to do. What would your personal future be if you could do whatever you wanted to because of the freedom that technology could give us?
if I was going to live for 500 years or 1,000 years, I think I would have different periods in my life. You know, we grow
phases like we do now.
Something, and then it gets old. You know, how long? This might sound almost scary, but how long would you want to stay married to somebody? How long do you think you could really stay? I love my wife. We're high school sweethearts. We've been together for almost 30 years already. You know, since we were teenagers.
But could you do 200 more?
Could she? I drive her insane. I know I would.
And we talk about...
She really tolerates me, but 200 years of dealing with me, I don't think she can do it. You know, so I think we're going to have different periods in our lives that we might go to college and learn paleontology and concentrate and focus on that for 100 years, and then move on and say, hey, I want to go, you know, study microbial fossils on Mars, and now I'm going to dedicate 100 or 200 years to that. You know, who knows what we're going to...
And then that's also even, Jeff, you mentioned something that kind of makes us think about it, maybe puts some things in perspective to us. It wasn't that long ago that the average lifespan was 50 years. And imagine if somebody told them they could live to be 100 years old, what they would sit down and the ideas they would come up with. Are we wasting our lives because it's something that we take for granted? You know, are we getting to, you know, people get to the age they're 30, 35, 40 years old and they think that their life is over, that they've done everything they're going to do. I can't go back to college. I can't get married again. I can't have kids. I'm 40. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm 50. 50 doesn't look like 50 used to, or at least what I remembered 50 looking like. Yeah. Maybe it's because I'm getting closer to it. I'll be 35 in a few months. Maybe that's the idea, that I'm getting, as I get closer to it, it doesn't look as old as I thought it was when I was 16, because, you know, that's just not the way I see the world anymore. So what is kind of, are we taking for granted the time that we have now? Should we be reaching out and doing more the way that we're at for our own?
So does this circle around to, in the future, humans will live for such long periods of time, we will take everything for granted and be completely useless?
Because we already have anyway. You know, when we get, all right. So what happens if you live 2,000 years? I mean, now you're looking at you're probably gonna end your own life, but what's enough time for you? We always wish for more time. That's the one commodity that we can't get back, that we can't trade for it. And usually what we do is we trade our time so that way we can have a little green piece of paper so we can do stuff with the time that we have still left after we've worked our ass off. So what happens if that goes away? This one thing that is this inherent human need to amass a great deal of wealth. What if you just had all that wealth? What would the human species be able to evolve into? Would we become more about, instead of having, would we want to be focused more on being? What could humanity become when we take all that superfluous stuff away?
Don't we just become like super wise? I mean, I feel like in all media wherein there's like some sort of alien species that lives for a very long time, they're just like super stuck up and obnoxiously wise.
Yeah, I like to think that.
That we become too brilliant for our own good. Like, it just doesn't. Do we get to the point that we really do kind of know everything and it really doesn't matter anymore? You know, or you know,
you go the other way where we do so much, we get bored of it. So it's like, maybe I want to end my life, but I want to do it in a way where I'm going to be like seeking thrills and all that. You know, just
jump into a volcano.
Jump into a volcano, or you know, maybe in the future we're going to have like wings and we can fly around. We're going to like see how close we can get to death, and then just try to avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got the thrill seekers like that that are out there in the world. I mean, it might be a terrible movie, but there's no way you can watch Point Break, the new Point Break, and not be absolutely fascinated by the idea. I mean, you can't actually do it. You know, I've been close enough to see it. It's just impossible. But you can't base jump off of, you know, the top of Mount Everest. But some of the ideas that they have are absolutely, that's fascinating, and that's the point, is to live that close to the edge. It's just you're living so hard you almost die. But
so the human race evolves into really ripped adrenaline junkies or really boring, complacent blobs.
You're going to have a wide variety, you know.
I mean, maybe it's the same thing that humanity is now. Maybe nothing. Just in the grand scheme of things, that, you know, no matter how big of a scope we get it, there will always be that variety. There will always be people that think that they shouldn't take their lives for granted. They should go out and see the world. Or, you know, there's the people that will, you know, take 1,000 years and read every book they can get their hands on and become nothing but machines of knowledge. But when you have, all right, so now let's take that back. What about those of us that want to amass knowledge, and it comes to the point that, I know Kung Fu. They're saying now that they can eternal sunshine you. They can take memories out of you. They can implant memories that you didn't know. You can, they're on the cusp of this. Science Alert, Live Science, all these major science sites are really kind of talking about these ideas. The things that we thought were so fantastical so long ago might be 5 or 10 years away. What if we eradicate disease? What if, CRISPR and gene editing is the way that we get rid of everything like that, and you're looking at an idea almost like, it was the Doctor Who spinoff.
Torchwood?
Torchwood, what was the one, the something day. I can't remember. There was Torchwood, and then there was a spinoff that was on Stars, and everybody stopped dying. Like, that's what it was. But the thing is that even though they stopped dying, didn't mean that they didn't stop getting hurt. So all these old people, and they were injured, and people were getting shot because there was riots, and nobody knew what was going on in the world. It's just the whole world goes to an absolute complete wreck because all of a sudden we're not dying. Everybody gets that wish to be immortal, but you can still be injured, you can still get sick, you can still get old. All these things that you have to deal with. The hospitals can't keep up with them. What happens if we ascend too quickly? What if we now can completely stop death? Would it be a hell on earth, or would we be able to figure that out and kind of move past that and kind of figure out a way to deal with this new immortal life?
Oh yeah, I think we'll. The key to the future is going to be education. As technology gets cheaper and cheaper, if we can make these cell phones, and give them to every poor little kid in the third world within the next 50 years, so they all have access to see how, all that information, how it can be useful to them. It's going to educate the world to a point where people aren't going to live in the sorrow that they do now. I think there's going to be a lot less people. I think we're going to control our inhibitions, as it becomes easier as far as birth control or whatever else. In the future, you might have to have permits to have children. You might have to be qualified. And by limiting the population, I think it's going to make it a lot easier to sustain us, so we do thrive, so we do have control, and we're not just this 18 billion people madhouse on this globe that's just polluting it to death.
I think it's really cool how every time Jeff talks, like at the start of it, his camera somehow like zooms in from that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And then halfway through his talk, as like his point is slowing down, it like zooms out calmly. And it's like, I don't know how you're doing that, man, but it's very
his
cool.
own cameraman.
I can't shut it off. I don't know how to.
It's so dramatic, and it's so on point. It really is. There it goes.
Look at it. It's coming into your face, man. Like,
sorry. That's what she said.
The whole thing with population. Do you think that, like, in the future, America is going to start doing what, China does with the whole one kid thing?
I think America is too stubborn to, like, China already hates that shit. Like, China does not like it, and they want that to stop. Like, Americans are too stubborn to allow the government to say no children for you.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's a question, something that we mentioned earlier. Now you're going to be able to basically engineer your children to be exactly what you want them to be. Now they're still going to be you. They're going to still be of you, but you're going to be able to take away the bad eyesight, this sickness. You might be able to do. You take away any sort of learning disabilities. So what happens in 2 generations when you've got a completely designed populace where they've already done it themselves? There are no, sort of like Superman, and Krypton, where they've designed themselves, and now you're looking at 5 generations down to where they've designed themselves, and they designed their kids, and they designed their kids, and they designed their kids. What's the randomness to life then? Whenever everybody is perfect.
I think it's going to be pretty random. Because look at what we have now. If you play a lot of the RPG games, you have this option of creating characters, the custom character creation, and people have some weird ideas out there. So we're going to look very freaky if that happens in the future.
And look at there's people today that have implants and tattoos and piercings. They've got 68 piercings in their face, and they've got
young people dye their hair gray. That's the new trend.
Yeah, it really is. Great. And I saw somebody the other day that almost said like a light purple, and it just reminds me of like we were talking about earlier, off before we started the call, was the JRPG hair. It's just looks like the lead character of Final Fantasy X. It's got the the wave, the kind of the feathered hair back, but it's like a taupe color. So what do we become when we engineer ourselves?
So if the future is a JRPG, I don't know. I'm pretty cool with that.
I would totally be okay with that. I want my team, man. I mean, but that would be kind of interesting. So, what if you have the ability to start engineering, or say the holodeck? Let's go with the holodeck. Let's say the HoloLens is the beginning of something. Let's say it's the beginning of the holodeck. Let's say the idea that we can get the four of us together and generally not be injured, and we can just run off on something, and there is no job for us to come back to. We can go and take our own adventure. What if you're sitting in a room that evolves itself to basically you can just go and live this unbelievable scenario and never have to go back to reality because now you've created your own.
Amazing adventures.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great possibilities for the future.
Yeah.
If you want to think like even closer to over the next 50, 100 years, maybe even sooner, we're going to have a lot of safety issues that are going to be taken care of. We're going to have so many monitors. We're going to have, like, brain scanning technology. We'll be able to monitor people's stress level and whether or not if they're lying just by the blood patterns, the flowing under their skin and their face.
Tricorders, replicators.
It's basically going to be it. We're not we won't have to worry when we go into an airport. If there's a threat, if there's somebody that's shows intent, they know what they're going to do. That's going to be red.
That is a terrible future. It's like I can't even play poker anymore with that.
Yeah. Oh, and you won't be able to lie. Very soon. There's going to be an app on your phone that'll flag whenever your friends are lying to you on the phone.
There was a big one.
It's going to change the culture.
Following, all the Clinton stuff with the emails, it was funny that one of the major science websites today put out something that said, soon from algorithms you're going to be able to tell if somebody's lying to you in an email. How are you going to be able to tell if somebody's lying in an email? That makes no sense to me. Just what is it?
Based on odds.
Yeah.
You have to think if 20 years ago you went to somebody 30 years ago and you explained the internet, that's just or an iPhone 20 years ago, they would have probably said like, oh, that's probably like 50, 100 years off. So you have to remember how exponential it is, and like really we could see some really crazy shit in like 10, 15 years in our lifetimes.
Oh yeah.
Any significantly advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I can't remember who said that, but it's absolutely the truth. Like it's hard to none of us expected the internet. None of us expected the ability to go online and instantly anywhere in the world. None of us are in the same place right now. The majority of us are in different time zones, and it is instantly beaming it at light speed across the earth to anybody that wants to watch it. All three of our viewers. So it's just think about the ideas of what that could be. They've teleported a particle across the room. It's a particle. It's very, very small, but we've moved matter across the room. We've moved it from one spot to another. That's just the beginning. What happens when we have those sort of abilities to be able to do the things that everything that we've ever thought was impossible before, we've been able to conquer it and find a scientific way to develop to get around it. There's an infinite number of loopholes because there's an infinite number of possibilities. So, what's the all right? Let's do one last one before we finish up. What's the
okay? Good, because Jeff just broke out his wisdom pipe.
Sorry, I quit smoking a few months ago, and I still have habits.
That is so perfect. I love that, and that's the perfect way to do it. All right, so say that humanity continues on, and let's just go with the general idea of evolution. Actually, the human. What do we evolve into? Do we evolve into something that we become something so completely different that it's completely unrecognizable? A million years in the future, has everything? Have we separated? So we've separated out, and are we going to want to search out a way to halt evolution, because we might be standing on the shoulders of giants right now that. in a way it could. I'm not saying that it will, but if we're already figuring out ways to fix disease, to be able to engineer our children, to be able to build these things, maybe we can take those things out of it. Whenever you're talking about building something from the ground up, we can grow our own meat now. It's resource heavy, but we can grow it if we want to. Like, we're starting to see those kind of things. Will we halt ourselves from moving forward, or
No,
what
I think
happens?
we'll give ourselves wings.
Icarus. And fly into the sun.
No, I think
can't stress enough. There's going to be different factions of people, especially after we take over the moon and Mars. And if you're looking at 5,000 or 10,000 years in the future, we're not going to be the hairless apes that we are today. We're going to be a completely different species, integrated with technology. There's going to be people that look like you and I, and there's going to be people that look like Cro-Magnums, or I should say Neanderthals. There's going to be people that look closer to the Borg than you'd like to imagine.
Yeah.
I want to be in the faction with wings. That's what I want.
Wings are cool.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a faction that does everything. So you're going to have the wings, you're going to have the person that's going to be integrated with machines, half robots, cyborgs.
The night people, like mole people. I think we're writing a really good book here, guys.
Honestly, we need to really kind of sit down and knock out the ideas, I think. So let's go with one last question for everybody, and everybody can kind of give their answer. What do you want to see? What's the change you want to see in the world? What is your not necessarily utopia, because we always hear that if we try to create a utopia, it never works out. But what is the best case scenario you could see for humanity for 1,000 years in the future? Jeff, we'll go with you. Start with you first, since you're peace piping us.
Sure. In 1,000 years, I would like to see, almost Leave It to Beaver across the world. If that makes any sense. I would like to see everybody mowing their nice little lawn, using sustainable energy. We'll have control in 1,000 years. We'll probably have control of our solar system. We really will. We might not have Mars terraformed like you might see in the movies, but we're gonna have colonies. We're gonna be moving forward. Like I said before, there's gonna be less people. I think it's gonna be more peaceful. You won't be able to lie and con people as much. You won't have that part of the culture as strong. There's always going to be assholes. There's always going to be somebody that's going to try to take advantage of somebody else. But it will be more limited. And people that are born psychotics, I think will be able to change their brain a little bit. We'll be able to recognize that, and maybe it's just cognitive therapy, would be enough to change it, but you'll be able to see it when they're a kid, You might not need to give them a shot and change their DNA to do it, but
I like it, John.
Those are some of the changes I see.
That's great. I like it, John. What do you think?
I think the future we're just going to be just tamer. Just like when you think of the past, like we have during the Roman era we got gladiators. So each generation we're just more. The more connected we are, I guess the more understanding we are. And it's just going to be kind of boring, yeah.
There'll still be UFC.
Maybe the UFC will be banned in the future. Who knows?
Yeah. Human punishment. Sharon, what do you think?
I think in the future I could see us genetically constructing organic beings to fit cool ecological niches, a creature that fixes the ozone, a creature that helps pollution, and by that I mean I hope we make Pokemon one day.
It all goes back to Pokemon. Pokemon Go. You can read the review now on nerdreactor.com. All right. So I think really for me, and I know it's not original because so many people have already said it, but I think we got to go with Star Trek, man. I think we get it together. I think the human species gets it together. We stop worrying about all the silly little things, and I think we get out in the universe, and I think we go out and we see these unbelievable things in an up-close way. We go out and we see the death of a star from far enough away that we're okay and we don't get injured. We see nebula. We step foot on Mars and it changes things. The world stands still like it did whenever you have Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. They land on the moon and that changes everything. The world just went silent. It didn't matter where you were. Everybody wanted to know about it, and I think it's gonna. not a utopia, but I think that we get out there and we stop caring about the little things, and as wealth goes away and it doesn't matter anymore, and we can create whatever we need and we can live whatever lives we want to. I think our creativity takes over. I think our explorer side takes over. I think our wanderer side takes over, and I think we become what we've always been trying to be, and that's just to be more, to be better. So that's my thoughts. And
that was very optimistic of you.
Yeah, man, I'm an optimistic guy, but that's the goal, man. I want to see us fix some stuff so we can go out in space and see everything, and so yeah. Well, guys, the show was awesome. Thank you so very much. It was what nobody knows was hours of us trying to get this knocked out. John has done a great job of hosting the show on the Reactor. And hosting the show on Nerd Reactor and going through the trials and tribulations that we have. We were missing two of our people this week. We were missing Amber. We were missing Bryce. We missed having them, and this would have been a much more interesting conversation on top of what it already was. They will be back with us next week, and we may even have Amber from across the pond. She is with her husband, and they are overseas right now. So hopefully we're going to have a little bit of an international fun with it next week, guys. So we appreciate everybody. Please check out the website, nerdreactor.com. Sharon's on twinfinite.com. I have opportunityu.com. Jeff, do you have any information where people could check out your book that's going to save the whales and you're going to save babies and puppies in Venezuela? Tell us about it.
Just say the name of your book.
The title's too long. So but if you do want to look into something that shows a series of thought experiments pertaining to the galaxy, gravity, black holes, things like that, sure, look up the book, look up me, Jeffrey C. Vogt, V-O-G-T.
That's awesome. We appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Drop the questions below, and we'll work on them. And we were really bad about that last time and this time, but next time, I promise, we're going to pay more attention to the questions and get those a little bit more involved. Maybe we'll make like the last 15 minutes question time. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye. John, do you know how to turn this off?
John just walked away. The chair.
That what we do.